Friday's finally here, and for Celtic fans, that means more than just the end of a working week. It means the build-up to yet another derby. There's always something special in the air when this fixture comes around, but let's be honest, the recent showings from Celtic in these clashes haven't exactly filled the support with confidence. Still, there's a feeling this one might be different. The league title has already been wrapped up. The celebrations are still echoing around the squad, but make no mistake, there's unfinished business on the pitch. And off the pitch, things are looking even brighter, especially after the announcement that dropped this week regarding the club's long-term partnership with Adidas. Now, for anyone who's maybe not caught up, the news came straight from the club. Itself, Celtic have signed a new extension with Adidas One that reportedly stretches out for 10 more years. That's right, 10. A full decade more of the iconic 3 stripes on the hoops. The original deal kicked off on the 1st of July back in 2020, right in the thick of the pandemic. It was a 5-year contract that at the time was hailed as the biggest kit deal in Scottish football history. It was said to be worth somewhere between £5 to £6 million annually. A major statement of intent from the club. And here we are 5 years and a few questionable home kits, later signing on for another 10. The exact financial terms haven't been released officially by the club, and they've kept things pretty tight-lipped when it comes to whether or not it truly is a 10-year deal. But multiple sources, including some credible ones, have suggested that's exactly what's been agreed. There might be all sorts of reasons for the lack of confirmation. Contractual clauses, maybe strategic silence from Adidas, or even considerations around rival clubs, but the consensus is that the deal is locked in until 2035. That's a massive bit of business, and it makes sense for both parties. For Adidas, Celtic are a globally recognized name with a deeply loyal and passionate fan base. For Celtic, Adidas represent prestige style and, crucially, a serious revenue stream. Reports suggest the club made around £30 million in merchandise sales in the most recent financial year, and it's hard to imagine that kind of figure being possible without the Adidas influence. Let's be real. When Celtic were with brands like Umbro, New Balance, or even Nike, there was always a bit of longing among the support to see the 3 stripes on the hoops. Now that it's reality, it still feels fresh, even if not every kit has been a masterpiece. But here's the thing. While this deal is absolutely a win in financial terms, there's a delicate balance that needs to be kept. The relationship between the fans and the club is rooted in more than just results or flashy kits. It's about feeling respected, listened to, and not just seen as a walking wallet. In recent seasons, we've seen an increasing number of kits being released. Last season, it was 4. This season, again, 4. And if you count that limited edition retro number that came out mid-season, it was technically 5. There's also been this trend of releasing one-off shirts for occasions like St. Patrick's Day, which the players never even wear on the pitch. Now, of course, no one is forcing fans to buy these kits, but let's not pretend there's not a certain pressure, or at least a sense of keeping up among supporters. And while the club is thriving financially, it's largely because of the investment of the fans. Season tickets, merch, match day, spend, streaming subscriptions. Celtic. Supporters contribute a massive amount to the overall revenue. Take Celtic TV, for instance. If you're watching from abroad, say from somewhere like Australia, that subscription is not cheap. Add that to the rising ticket prices and the cost of TV packages needed to follow the team across various competitions, and it starts to add up quickly. The kits themselves are no exception. Looking at the prices online, you're talking about £50 for this season's shirt, likely to rise even higher with the new release. 70, maybe even £80 or £90 isn't out of the question. That's a lot to ask. So the hope is that in all the excitement of this new Adidas deal, the club and the brand don't lose sight of what makes this relationship special. It's a rare thing, really, a kit manufacturer that the fans actually want. That doesn't happen often. Usually kit launches are met with a mix of interest and dread. But with Adidas, there's been genuine buzz, a sense of pride seeing those 3 stripes alongside the green and white hoops. It taps into something deeper, the historic Irish and Scottish identity of the club, the cultural connection that goes beyond football. And that's part of what made it extra special this week when you saw a few familiar faces donning Celtic gear. American actor Rob McElhenney, co-owner of Wrexham, popped up wearing one of our retro Umbro kits on the Away Days YouTube channel. Whether he knows everything about the club or not, the way he spoke about Celtic's roots, both Irish and Scottish, was genuinely respectful and appreciative. Elsewhere, singer Miles Smith was spotted in the current Adidas strip, and funnily enough, he's actually touring in Melbourne right now. That kind of exposure, intentional or not, just reinforces the global reach of the club and the appeal of the hoops. Adding to all of that, there's another move that signals Celtic's commercial growth. A brand new retail store is set to open in Glasgow city centre. The old shop on Argyle Street is being replaced by a much larger outlet on Queen Street, which is reportedly more than twice the size. The renderings shared by the club show a sleek, modern-looking space, and the opening is scheduled for later this year. It's another step forward in terms of the club's physical presence in the city and its ability to connect with fans beyond the stadium. All in all, it's clear Celtic are in a strong place off the pitch. There's money coming in, the brand is expanding, and the connection with Adidas is stronger than ever. The only caveat, the only cautionary note, is to make sure that the fans don't start to feel like they're being milked dry. Because as much as we all want to see Celtic succeed financially, it can't come at the cost of the supporter experience. Keep the kids special. Don't overdo it. Respect the supporters' investment, not just in money, but in passion and loyalty in decades of commitment. And with all of that going on off the pitch, attention naturally turns to the weekend and what's happening on the pitch. The derby is looming large, and no matter how many titles Celtic have won or how many points separate the teams in the table, a clash with Rangers always has its own meaning. This one in particular carries weight, not because of what's at stake in terms of trophies, but because of pride. Because if we're being honest, Celtic owe the fans a performance in this fixture. The last few derbies have been tough to watch. The energy, the fight, the composure, it's all been missing at key moments. That simply can't happen again. And make no mistake, the players and staff will know it. After wrapping up the league and enjoying a bit of celebration, they were back in at Lennoxtown by Tuesday, and you get the sense this has been a focused, sharp week of preparation. No complacency, no taking the foot off the gas. Yes, the title's done, but there's a lot to prove, especially in terms of how Celtic match up against Rangers. Earlier in the season, Celtic were completely overrun, and Ibrox crumbled under the press and never really recovered after the first goal went in. That can't be allowed to repeat itself. One of the biggest talking points heading into the weekend is the return of Callum McGregor. His absence in recent derbies has been sorely felt, and even though he was on the pitch the last time Celtic played at Ibrox, he was clearly still managing an issue. Now if he's fully fit, that changes things massively. Celtic need that control in the middle of the park, someone who can slow things down when needed, dictate the tempo, and keep the team composed when the pressure starts to rise. The last time at Celtic Park, it all felt too frantic. There was no real grip on the game, and that's exactly where Rangers thrive. Having McGregor back could also allow others around him to play their natural games. You think about someone like Matt O'Reilly, who's had a fantastic season overall, but maybe hasn't shown his best in these fixtures. Having a solid foundation behind him, someone to take responsibility in the build-up, might just free him to affect the game further up the pitch. The same goes for the wingers, whether it's Maida Palmer or Abada. When Celtic play with control and tempo, those players start to shine. Of course, one of the big unknowns heading into Sunday is the injury situation. There are whispers, nothing confirmed, that Jota could be facing a lengthy spell out. If that turns out to be true, that's a blow, because even if he hasn't been at his absolute best this season, his presence on the pitch is always a threat. Yang is another one who's been missing for a while now with an elbow injury, and it's a real shame because just before that, he looked like he was turning a corner. He was direct, confident, and looked like a player capable of producing something out of nothing. These are the kinds of players who make a difference in tight derby matches. Then there's the situation with Kasper Schmeichel. The experienced goalkeeper has been out, and while he's been fairly solid since coming in, it might not be the worst thing to give Benjamin Siegrist or Sinisalo a go in a high-pressure match. If one of them is going to be the future beyond this season, these are the types of games where you find out what they're made of. Schmeichel himself sounded reasonably optimistic after the last match, hinting that he might be back before the end of the campaign. But that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be thrown straight back in. The mental side of this match is just as important as the physical. That's where Brendan Rodgers has to earn his wage. It's been a while since we've heard directly from him. Last weekend's match was followed by a bit of a media quiet period, but he's expected to speak ahead of this derby, and fans will be looking to him for reassurance. He said all the right things before the last meeting with Rangers, but the performance didn't match the words. This time, supporters need more than talk. They need to see a plan, a structure, and above all, a response from the team. There's also the added element of having Celtic fans back inside Ibrox for the first time in years. That's not just symbolic, it's significant. The absence of away supporters in these fixtures has absolutely killed the atmosphere in recent times. It's made derbies feel hollow, a bit soulless. Bringing back even a small section of their away support should inject some of that old fire and energy back into the match. Liam Scales spoke about it this week, and it's genuinely wild to think he's never played in a derby with Celtic fans present in the away end. That shows just how long this ridiculous situation has gone on. The hope is that the presence of the support will lift the players, especially in those early exchanges. So often the opening 10 or 15 minutes of these matches set the tone. Celtic have been guilty in the past of letting Rangers dominate that early spell, feeding off their own crowd and putting Celtic on the back foot. That can't happen again. With the League One, the pressure is off in one sense, but in another it's not, because the pride of the fans is very much on the line. This season has been a success in a lot of ways. The league title, for one, is no small feat, especially considering the injuries and inconsistency that plagued parts of the campaign. But the derby performances, that's where the frustration lies. It's the one area that hasn't felt quite right. So Sunday becomes an opportunity, not just to get one over on the rivals, but to put a proper stamp on what's been achieved this year, to show that this squad can go to Ibrox and control a game, that they can stand up to the noise, to the pressure, and play the kind of football that has defined this club at its best. And looking ahead, this could be the last derby for a few players in a Celtic shirt. The summer window's approaching, and there's always movement. Whether it's fringe players moving on or bigger names attracting interest, these games are often defining in the minds of scouts and decision makers. So you'd hope that every single player selected this weekend approaches it like it's their last chance to make a statement to the manager, to the fans, and to themselves. Meanwhile, for Rodgers, the derby is another chapter in what he'll hope is a long second spell in charge. There's been speculation, of course. There always is. The links to potential jobs in England never go away. But for now, he's here, and this is a chance to reaffirm his status. His first run at Celtic was defined by dominance in his fixture. His return hasn't yet hit that same note. A big win on Sunday, and suddenly the narrative shifts again. So as the week wraps up, there's a mix of emotions, anticipation nerves, maybe even a bit of cautious optimism. The celebrations from last week have settled, and now all eyes are on Ibrox. It might not be a league decider, it might not be a cup final, but it still feels like one of the most important matches of the season. Because it's about sending a message, not just to Rangers, but to everyone watching. Celtic are champions for a reason. Now it's time to remind everyone exactly why. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Celtic defender Cameron Carter-Vickers is facing a testing spell off the pitch as personal issues have begun to cast a shadow over his life away from football. Known for his composure and consistency at the heart of the Hoops defense, the American international has been a pillar of strength in Brendan Rodgers' squad. But recent developments in his private life have added a heavy burden to his shoulders, one that no amount of training or matchday focus can easily shake off. Sources close to the player have revealed that Carter-Vickers has been navigating a difficult period involving family matters, which have taken a toll on his emotional well-being. While the club remains tight-lipped on the specifics out of respect for the player's privacy, it's clear to those within Lennoxtown that the centre-back is carrying more than just the weight of opponents on his back. Teammates have rallied around him in recent weeks, offering support both on and off the training ground, and Rodgers himself has reportedly made it a point to ensure the defender feels the full backing of the club during this tough time. Despite the challenges, Carter-Vickers has continued to show immense professionalism. He's turned up for training led by example, and even featured in recent matches with his usual defensive poise. But keen-eyed supporters have noticed a change in his demeanor. Quieter in the tunnel, slower to celebrate, eyes that hint at A storm behind the calm Celtic fans who have taken Carter Vickers to heart since his arrival have begun to flood social media with messages of support. Many know that footballers, though often seen as indestructible, are human too. And even the strongest centre-halves sometimes need to lean on others for strength. As the season heads into its defining weeks, the Celtic family will be hoping that their number 20 finds peace and balance once more. Not just for the club's benefit, but for the man himself. For now, the boys stand behind him, not just as a player, but as a person. Hello, fan! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.